Today is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. It's 9 a.m. We're in the City Hall, John Nett's Community Wing. I call this meeting to order. This workshop to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a short moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. If you haven't already silenced your devices, please do so. Could you call the roll, Miss Allison?
Of course. Mayor Norris?
Here.
Vice Mayor Panieri?
Present.
Councilmember Gumbaro?
Here.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Here.
And Councilmember Miller is absent.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll start with public participation. Please refer to the rules in the agenda. No defamatory comments, and remain within your 3 minutes. When you come up to the podium, please state your name for the record. So with that, we'll start public participation. Yes, Miss Jeannie.
Jeannie Duarte, you all never cease to amaze me. Why shut down a library after questioning needs for 2 more? Where are the funds for the saltwater canals? How about a refund for the botched city management search? How did 2 5G towers, a surveillance system, splash pad, storage unit, and a $4 million fleet budget get approved? Most without prior closure to the public for prior preview. Do you want to live between 2 5G cell towers? Why did someone take particular interest in addressing IT several weeks before the audio-video streaming failed June 10th, depriving residents their First Amendment rights to be heard and to be informed? I still have yet to find the uninterrupted recording on the city's website as promised, depriving residents to view the missing pages of the impact fee presentation that was approved that day. Impact fees are only passed to the consumers, making housing less affordable, as do increasing utility costs and adding transaction fees. Now you want us to pay for each other's bills and ask for help? How about the donating your 151% pay raise? How dare our community leaders refuse to cooperate with DOJ? The audacity to write in a letter to DOJ stating, the city confirms that it has not encountered any instance of financial emergency or distress, nor does it anticipate any such distress in the near future. Dated March 20th, 2025. Now claiming extraordinary circumstances which you have helped create. Swells, retention ponds have failed. Sewage backs up into homes. Potable water is green. You only offer temporary solutions and order disinfectant chemicals. Our city was only granted $5 million for water management, though we waste funds to lobby for over $100 million toward the western expansion. Those funds need to be reallocated for our infrastructure needs. Meanwhile, our officials are jumping ship, trading positions, showing lack of competency in their voting skills, and causing further chaos. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public? Yes, sir, Mr. Orr.
Good morning, Mark Webb, Palm
Oh,
Coast.
I'm sorry, Mark, my bad.
That's okay. It's a busy time for all of us.
You guys look like brothers, I'm sorry.
I get that a lot. So I'd like to revisit the tail end of last week's Tuesday meeting. The vice mayor brought up the YMCA. She asked for permission and was given permission to have a conversation with the YMCA group about possibly managing our aquatic center, quote unquote, during construction. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not believe that we are anywhere near having a conversation about what the city of Palm Coast is going to do with the YMCA pool facility. I know that there's a lot of conversation. In fact, in the state budget, as reported by the news outlets, there was a $500,000 funding made available to improve the access for disabled people to a Palm Coast pool. Now, I believe the new Volusia, Flagler family, YMCA, as they're calling themselves now, is excited to see that there's some state money coming to help. And for the record, I applaud the efforts of bringing a pool to bringing a YMCA. It's a great amenity, which we know amenities, such as what's on the agenda today, are being discussed. But I think it's premature to open up a conversation with an organization that is intended to come in and manage, take over, run, support, or maybe even whatever the plan is, our Palm Coast Aquatic Center, when it could be years before construction starts. So once again, at the tail end of the city meetings, after the public has spoken, and it's y'all's turn to bring up sunshine kind of things to address what's happening. A lot of times it's missed by the city that's paying attention to realize these conversations happen. And I was curious if the Y hasn't talked to each of you individually about things that are going on. I looked at the county level, which is where we left it, I believe, to see if the county and the school board wanted to help with that $3 million. Haven't seen that yet. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Denise Henry, P section. Actually, this is on a positive note starting out, that driving through Palm Coast right now, the city is really beautiful, and anybody coming into our city, I think, would really fall in love with it. All the magnolias are out in bloom. I've never seen them blooming so well. However, also I was in the park at the lake here last night, and there was a bicyclist just biking around the path around the lake at least 5 times, because my son walked around it 5 times. And I think that's very dangerous. I mean, he can well have biked around the roads because it's only 15 miles per hour. So I don't know if you need to put some kind of sign that says no bicyclists, but I think that's very dangerous. It's pavers anyway, and it's hard for me to walk. So I walked halfway down and halfway back. But, you know, if you've been biking past me at that moment, I think I could have lost my balance. It also about the parks. When James brought up the different, like he brought up the whole ordinance, I believe, that day that he was talking about the impact fees. It said on there, no musical instrument allowed. Well, I don't see anything wrong with somebody having a guitar. If someone's worried about panhandling, then that's what we should say in the ordinance, no panhandling. But for just a family maybe having a picnic and somebody wants to play their guitar, I mean, music can be joyous. Especially when you have a lot of kids screaming and yelling, you know, to me that's more disturbing the peace. To somebody that's, you know, more retired than me, but we all love children, so, you know, I'm not going to complain about that. But I think to say you can't have a musical instrument unless you get a permit, I think that's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Miss Carolyn.
Hey, good morning, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to come up to
State your
address,
name. State your
Caroline
name.
Johnson, sorry,
Yes, ma'am.
Smart Animal Rescue. I wanted to come up and address some of the issues right now with the dump dogs in the area. I know some of you see it on social media. I know you're busy, don't see much of it, so I just wanted to bring it to your attention. We've taken in about 11 to 12 dogs from Hargrove that are dumped over on US 1. It's a crucial time. We have foster homes that are stacked with dogs in every room, trying to help so they don't go to a shelter and be euthanized. After being dumped on a dirt road at night, starved for weeks in the woods, these dogs are scared, very scared. So it takes a lot of experience and nurturing to get these dogs to an adoptable place, to say. Being in a loud shelter, different rotation of people every hour that might come in your kennel is not what those dogs need. So we're trying to do our best to help the issue. I want to definitely give a thank you to the city and the Sheriff's Department. Your city staff have been amazing with helping us. Barbara has been great. I can call her at any time, even after hours, to get assistance with some of these dump dogs. The Sheriff's Department has been out there. When I've been out there at midnight, some of them have been out there riding the road with us. So I just want to give a huge thank you to the city staff and Sheriff's Department who have been crucial. And I just want you to hear about that because I know you hear a lot of negative about them. So it's important to hear kind of what they're doing behind the scenes, and they've been crucial with helping. The city, Barbara has gotten the late night staff that go out, I guess code enforcement, that she has now doing rounds on Hargrove, just to see if we can catch some of the people that are out there dumping dogs. It's happening. We have businesses out there that are helping us ride ATVs in the woods, looking to see if we can find a place that these dogs are hunkering down out there. So it's just crucial for you to understand the need right now. I know that we've been coming for a year talking about the need for a shelter and the need for help for the animals. The county yesterday said they were putting it on their capital improvement plan and starting to go forward with that process, and they didn't know where you stand with it. So I'd like to see maybe hopefully another joint meeting soon that we can come together. It's not just a county side issue. Palm Coast is seeing the same issues. We've taken, like I said, 11 to 12 dogs just from one area, but we've taken in about 22 dogs in the last 30 days in Palm Coast that were either dumped, abused, or animal control cases with Barbara and her team. So again, I just want to say thank you for the city's support with that, the residents who help us cover the vetting for these dogs that a lot of them need a lot of vet care, and the businesses that step up, and of course, the Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Mike Solora. My issue is they're talking about selling the golf course.
That's an agenda item.
Okay,
Mike.
so we don't talk about that?
You can,
Okay.
You'll have your chance when we do the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, I'll bring it back to the dais. City Manager, you have any comments on any of the items mentioned?
I do not, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yes, a couple of things. Thank you, Mayor. So on the YMCA, I'm glad you brought it up, Mr. Webb, because I should update council. So I did meet with two representatives from the YMCA. What they have asked us whether we want them to, and I think staff is working with them directly, is to take over running our aquatic center for lesser money and offering more programming. So it's kind of a win-win. Now, there's a lot, obviously, that goes into that from an administrative standpoint. So staff is still working through that and what that would look like as far as I know. But no decisions have been made. I will tell you, though, Mr. Webb, they are looking at construction for the Y happening much quicker than even I anticipated. So it is something that as soon as council can decide on whether or not we can fund their ask, they want to move very quickly, which I think is great for the community. But in the meantime, yes, they have asked about managing our aquatic center and, like I said, doing it for a little bit cheaper and offering more programming. So I think it could be a net positive. We just have to make sure that we're working out some of the kinks in that process. The only other thing, Ms. Johnson, I do want to address the Humane Society issues. So I watched the county meeting, the county workshop yesterday where they discussed this. And I agree. I think that we should try to get another joint city-county meeting, if they're willing to, city manager, on the calendar. There was some information that they were curious about. Specifically, Commissioner Pennington asked for some figures as far as what animal control by the city of Palm Coast would cost after startup costs, so looking into years 2, 3, et cetera. So the quicker we can get them some of the information they were looking for, the better, and the quicker they'll be able to make their decisions. With regards to the dumping of dogs, I wanted to look into whether or not we have, or we could get access maybe to any cameras for any businesses out there, maybe working a little bit closer with some of the businesses to see if we can figure out who is dumping these dogs.
I believe they've are working with the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office has cameras out there.
Okay, perfect.
That they have placed.
Okay, that's great. All right, I think that was everything. Yeah, so if, do we have consensus to maybe have another meeting? I don't want to just make that decision, but.
Sure, it's going to come up again.
I think it'll come up again. I mean, the problem's always going to be money.
Well, and they did say that they were going to add a building to their CIP.
Okay.
But this is a kind of a separate issue. This is whether or not animal control will continue to be
Right.
by the Humane Society, come to the city of Palm Coast, or go to the county. And
Right.
so I think.
No, I think it's worth having another meeting.
Okay, I appreciate that.
It's frustrating because it's so hard to come up with a real plan.
Money's always the issue.
Yeah, and the county did present, in their presentation, they had, similar to what Putnam has done as far as a new shelter. Ms. Petito did put a very high-level plan together as far as what that cost would be. But yes, I hear you. It's frustrating. But that was everything I had. Thank you.
Ma'am, you got anything?
No.
Commissioner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too have had those discussions with the team from the YMCA. And, in addition to operating it, also assuming the maintenance costs associated with that operation. So look forward to hearing back from them in a formal presentation, what their plan is, what it looks like, so we can, take a harder look at it.
We're working on getting that scheduled.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything else from the dais? Okay, we'll move into item E, presentations. City Manager Presentation 1.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. The first presentation is an overview of our health insurance plan for city employees. Brown & Brown has a short presentation to review with you and just talk about plan design and some of the changes that we will see next year.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Hi, good morning, Mayor, Council. I am Danielle Boyle, Senior Vice President with Brown & Brown Insurance Services. I also have Brandon Savage with me today. He is my Senior Account Executive and has worked closely with the city for many years. So today, we are going to share an update on your 2025-2026 renewal. And get it going. This one? Okay. Great. I think it's always helpful whenever we go through this, since I look at this every day and many of you look at it maybe a couple times a year, to explain the moving parts that go along with your self-insured health plan. You pay Blue Cross Blue Shield of Florida an administrative fee, and that is a small portion of your total cost. And really what you get for that is their network discount from the billed charges and administration of the claims, customer service, et cetera. Stop loss insurance is catastrophic insurance that insures against the risk for one person in excess of a certain amount. And the aggregate stop loss caps the exposure of the plan in whole. So the benefits of being self-insured are that you are able to put money away whenever you have a good year. And you also benefit from pharmacy rebates that are paid back every time somebody fills a brand or specialty medication. If you are fully insured, the insurance carrier gets to keep the excess profits on positive years, and they also retain all of those pharmacy rebates. So it has been a positive setup for the city over the years. Claims are the biggest portion of your cost, and those claims are separated between medical and pharmacy. Medical would be doctor's visits, labs, hospitals, inpatient, outpatient, ER, urgent care, and medical trend is the inflation that's tied to medical care. And really the idea there is per year, those costs do increase higher than normal inflation. And that is because medical technologies are developed and those are more expensive than general consumer things that you would buy at the store. The medical trend right now is between 7 and 10% in Central Florida. We are seeing some impacts to the Florida market and really nationally as hospitals call the insurance carriers back to the table to try to negotiate higher reimbursement rates. We've seen that post-COVID and it's ongoing. So just putting that on your radar that we are seeing an uptick in some of that medical trend, hoping that it'll stabilize once everyone has gone through the renegotiations post-COVID. Your pharmacy claims, those are anything that is filled at the pharmacy or a specialty medication is typically sent via mail order. Those are really becoming more of a cost driver across our entire book of business. Things that used to be treated at the hospital or in facilities are now able to be treated through pharmaceuticals. So cancer is a great example of that. There are many oral oncology medications that would hit as a pharmacy claim rather than a medical claim. Pharmacy trend is closer to 10 to 13%. That'll depend on the drug mix and how many specialty medications are being filled. Just a recap of last year. The medical administration was under a rate guarantee with Florida Blue. We had gone out the year before and secured a multi-year rate guarantee and wellness funds for the city. The medical administration was renewed with Optum. You have a deal through RX Benefits, which is a group purchasing coalition. The idea there is that you combine with other middle market self-insured clients that are RX Benefits clients, and then they go to the big three pharmacy benefit managers, negotiate better pricing for you, so you get the pricing of a larger group. That has really paid off. When we look at your pharmacy pricing and rebate structure since you went to RX Benefits, your annual rebates that were received prior to moving to them were about $230,000. This year, they're on track to be about $600,000. Dental, life, and disability were under guarantee with Florida Blue, their partnership with US Able, and those coverages were moved the prior year in order to get some economies of scale. So the whole package drove down the overall cost on all of those. Medical and pharmacy funding last year, so the increase in total was 12%, which was about $880,000. That was split mostly with the city absorbing the 12%. The employees did have a 10% increase, which amounted to about $84,000 of the $880,000. Looking at how the plan is performing so far this plan year. So the plan is running slightly over budget with 6 months of claims, and it's about $92,000 over budget. The budget rates are set by an actuary. Those are not set by Florida Blue or by any insurance carrier, so it's an independent look at how things are performing, take a prior 12 months, 18 months of claims experience and project that forward, and that's really how we establish your budget rates for the year. So running just over budget, and there are 25 large claimants. Large claimants we are classifying as anyone with more than $50,000 in spend so far this year. In total, these 25 claimants represent $2.4 million in claims. And when I looked at the 25 claimants, 5 of those were on your HSA plan, your high deductible health plan, and the rest were on your PPO plan. The city does have the stop loss in coverage for anyone that exceeds $175,000 in claims, so you're on the hook for the first $175,000. After that, the risk is transferred to a stop loss carrier, and you pay a premium for that. 2 of your claimants have exceeded that stop loss through May, and a total reimbursement is a little over $100,000 from the stop loss carrier. So this year, we are looking at a 10%.
Ms. Boyle, may I stop you for just a moment? Thank you, I appreciate it. Can you just explain a little bit more the dynamic between you all and the gross stop loss carrier? What happens in that process when something then gets passed on to them, and what is that deductible that we pay?
You have a $175,000 deductible, and it really happens behind the scenes. You are with Florida Blue's subsidiary, ISU, is your stop-loss carrier. So it's an automatic reimbursement. Once somebody hits 175,000, the risk is transferred to insurance. So there's nothing that we have to do as far as filing the claim. If you were with an outside stop-loss carrier, and we do go to market for you every year on that, if you were with another carrier, then there is a 3-day on average reimbursement for the preferred panel that we work with, but yours is automatic behind the scenes.
So why, if we have a separate carrier for that, why then are our costs in this plan increasing because of that utilization?
Your costs are increasing due to several moving parts. Medical and pharmacy trend. So if you were to have the same claims this year as you, or next year as you had this year, we would anticipate the medical costs would increase by 7 to 10%, just in the form of trend. Pharmacy above that. A smaller portion of your overall costs is your fixed premium you pay for stop loss. We are still finalizing negotiations on that. So the stop loss premium that you pay in for that $175,000 protection, you do pay for that, but it's not driving your overall increase.
Okay, so that's not a big factor in why we're seeing an increase?
Correct.
And how many did you say have been referred to the stop loss carrier?
You've had
2?
2 so far this year.
Okay, and the rest, you just said there's 25 in total high claimants?
Yeah, those are between $50,000 and that $175,000 stop loss. 2 of those have exceeded the $175,000.
Is there anything in our plan that we can, because I think this is now, if I recall last year, we had the same issue. Is there anything in our plan that we can adjust to anticipate this continuing in this fashion in order to bring down costs?
Yes, so the high-cost claimants are driving your spend, for sure. It's not the stop-loss piece of it, it's just the volume of them. Some of the things that we've looked at with the HR team and finance team are potentially putting in a different solution for those with complex medical conditions, a second opinion or expert medical opinion service. There are some stop-loss vendors out there that include that in their pricing. Otherwise, it could be about $2 per employee per month for the city if you wanted to add that to your coverage. The benefit there, this is really a recommendation from our medical director at a national level. When an employee is facing a complex condition and their doctor tells them they need something, they're going to listen, obviously. But there may be a more appropriate treatment plan, maybe a best-in-class center of excellence that's all they work with is that specific condition. And having those records reviewed by somebody in that role can be beneficial for the member, for their overall care, and then also for the cost of your plan. So that is not included in today, but it will be whenever we are finalizing stop loss with the team over the coming weeks.
Okay, could that have any effect on the overall cost of our plan for this year then?
No. It could add $2 per employee per month if you were to add the point solution, and it could potentially reduce your costs, but we can't model that out. It would depend on what types of employees are utilizing the service, and what the recommendation is as far as a change in their treatment plan.
So this is really something that we could do now in order to help costs next year and moving
Correct.
forward? Gotcha, okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go right ahead, Danielle.
All right. So the increase this year is looking at a 10% in aggregate. This does include a plan design change to your PPO option. So your PPO option is the one that is driving your costs. It is the plan that includes co-pays, so flat dollar services for many of the services that employees incur. It does not encourage consumerism the way that a high deductible health plan does, meaning employees can really, they don't need to shop around or think about where they're going before they go on the PPO plan. It has resulted in more costs. That plan runs over budget year over year. The benefit of that plan is employees may not delay care, but we are seeing a spike in utilization on that plan. The changes that have happened are the deductible. So the amount that the employee or member has to pay prior to any hospital services in general being covered is going from $1,000 to $1,500. That is still a rich benefit whenever we look across the board at our book of business. The out-of-pocket maximum is also increasing. So it is currently at $4,000. For the HSA plan, that is increasing to $6,000. Emergency room coverage is going to be subject to the deductible and co-insurance on that plan. And the reason for that is we have seen what we call steerable emergency room visits. So someone that could have gone to urgent care or perhaps teledoc going to the emergency room because it's convenient, they have a copay, they don't know what they're going to pay. Adding deductible and co-insurance to that benefit can drive people to utilize the urgent care or a more appropriate service setting. So those are the three changes that we are recommending to get to that 10% increase. The other piece that we will be encouraging you all to look at is closing that PPO plan to new enrollments effective October 1st. Meaning, if somebody is currently in that PPO, they can stay there, but new employees that want to go over to that plan would need to stay in the HSA plan. The benefit of your HSA plan is that it has a richer benefit. If you look at the out-of-pocket maximum, it's staying where it's at. And the city does contribute $1,000 to anyone that takes that plan into a health savings account. That plan is, or that account is employee owned, so it rolls over from year to year. It's truly a savings account. It's pre-tax. The city puts $1,000 into it. Employees can put additional money per paycheck into that account to build up a bank. And if they need to use it, it's there. And when they utilize the HSA funds for any medical, dental, vision expense for themselves or any of their tax dependents, they don't pay taxes on that either. So it really is a win-win as far as the taxability. If they build up an amount in that HSA and perhaps they only go for wellness visits, not really a high utilizer of the plan, they can begin investing that money once it reaches a certain threshold as well. So there are many benefits, and you've had an HSA for, I think, many years, and the employees have really understood it. I think having that $1,000 employer funding has really helped them not be afraid of that model and learn to utilize the plan in the most cost-effective way. Stop loss, we have a placeholder in the actuarial projection of 30%. I don't anticipate that it'll land there based on some initial proposals that we've received from your current carrier and others. But the 30% placeholder is what we've done for all of our clients prior to stop loss being finalized because of the volatility that the stop loss market has seen over the past several years. 10 to 15% used to be pretty normal in our book of business. I've had several that were 50% in the past 2 years for just that stop loss premium. Not the city, but other clients, so that does happen. The reason for that is there are treatments out there that are over $1 million. I had a city last year that had a $40 million claimant for a very unique condition. And so because stop loss carriers are on the hook for anything above that $175,000 or the stop loss level, many of them have taken a hit over the past several years. There are also new therapies out there, including gene therapies, that are curative in nature. So if somebody has one of these unique conditions, they can actually have a cure, but they're in the millions, between $2 and $5 million for that cure. And so as those more costly but life-changing treatments are rolled out and approved by the FDA, that is going to be felt across the market. Stop loss proposals are pending. We expect to finalize them in the next 2 weeks. We will be getting with your team to finalize that. Cost share. So the recommendation is for the city to pass a 10% increase to the HSA. And then for the PPO plan, the increase would be 10% on employee and 20% on dependents. This table shows the comparison. So if you look at the top, that's your HSA plan. The bottom is your PPO. The first column shows your current 24-25 monthly contributions. So for example, on the HSA plan, an employee only is $41.30 per month. The percentage is in the column next to that. So that's showing what the employee picks up versus the city. HSA plan, 5% employee and 95% city funded. If you look all the way down, you can see the richness of the city's contributions towards dependent coverage. It's really nice to see that you're able to help employees that have family coverage and subsidize 81% of that cost per month. When we look at a 10% increase for the 25-26 plan year, the dollar amounts are shown in that column second from the left, and then the new premium monthly contributions are shown on the column to the far right. So we're looking at anything from a $4.13 increase for an HSA plan employee only, all the way up to your highest increases on the PPO plan, family coverage, $96 increase. And then on the far right, you'll see the city annual increase just shy of $800,000 and the employees picking up about $136,000. Can I answer any questions for anyone?
Mr. Mayor, I've got a few.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for your presentation. I think it's very helpful. I just want to start off by just from looking at these figures and just in comparison to what the school board offers, right? For you to get family care over at the school district, you have to pay $2,300 a month in premium. It's crazy, and that hasn't changed from when I served on the school board. I remember a lot of our teachers delivering pizza at night. Jacob Oliva, who's now the Commissioner of Education out in the state of Arkansas, he was one of our school principals. He's like, hey Charlie, I don't know how to tackle this, and it hasn't changed. So in comparison, even at the highest plan, $577 versus $2,300, that's still a pretty good deal. And if you look at it in comparison to let's say what they call it, the Cadillac program for federal employees and civil servants, that same PPO plan is about the same place for Blue Cross Blue Shield. And why is that important? I think it's important as we always continue to look to hire new talent is the benefits package. Why do you want to work to just pay for an insurance premium? Most people, it doesn't make it a whole lot of sense unless you have a family member, somebody in your family that can cover down on everybody else. So, and then, I think the scenario from the school board situation was that we have, a lot of young families in our community and also a lot of older residents that, both need, there's a high percentage of medical care, and you kind of touched on that through the increase of claims. What's nice is that now we have, telemedicine and things of that nature that you can utilize versus just going to the emergency room. From when I first moved here in 2006, we just had the one emergency room, right? So, so I just want to confirm, so it's 10% on HSA, it's 10% for the employees, nothing on the family members?
It's 10% for every tier. Thank you for
For every
that
tier,
clarification.
okay. Because it just says increase employees, I didn't see anything else. And then for the PPO, 10% for the employee, 20% for dependent care coverage.
Correct.
And those figures are reflected at the bottom of the chart. I think the PPO is really important to offer that option for our employees to get the care that they need when they need it. And I think, and as you can see, you stated earlier, it's being utilized, correct? So why do we take something away that has a high utilization rate? I know there may be more cost, but as parents and family members, sometimes we need to have that flexibility to get to the right doctor in time for care that matters. And so I'm not in support of shutting it off by 1 October, okay? But I do think that this is fantastic analysis, and when you compare it, as a small business owner, if I want to provide insurance for one of my employees, it's $1,500 a month that I have to pay my portion, and their portion is almost the same. So I think the city's pretty generous in covering most of the overall cost. But for all the reasons I just outlined, I think this is a solid plan minus the removal of the PPO for 1 October. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anything else, Danielle? Anything else from the dais?
I had a couple questions,
Let's go
Mayor.
ahead.
Thank you. I do agree with you, Councilman Gambaro. I like the recommendations aside from nixing PPO. I think it's necessary, particularly when we look at how competitive the private market is, that we're battling for employees out of the private market. We can't pay what a lot of the private employers can pay. Offering a good health insurance plan is an incentive, not only to get them here, but to keep them here. So I don't advocate for getting rid of PPO. My questions are really centered around that split of costs. So the proportions that we're seeing here, is this pretty standard, or, and when I say standard, I don't want to compare to the private market, but to other governmental organizations, is this standard?
I would say that you are on the richer end of that, and I also represent the school board, and the model that they have used historically has been a defined contribution rather than a percentage split. And what happens as medical trend compounds year over year, employees that have anything other than employee-only coverage on the lowest cost plan are picking up the lion's share of that increase. We do see that model, and it's hard to dig out of. I think the school board took one step this year to try to write that on a new plan that they added. I represent many other cities locally and throughout the state, and I think that you offer one of the richest dependent coverage that I've seen, which is, to your point, great for attraction and retention of your employees. As budgets get hit, we find that that piece, the dependent portion of the subsidy towards the premium, is the first to go. And for employees that have families, that can be a tough year, a tough change. And so to answer your question, I think that it's one of the richer that we have.
So it looks like, thank you for that. It looks like what you're proposing almost starts to incentivize more people to go to HSA. Mm-hmm. So is that what we're doing here? We're trying to make kind of a slow transition to encourage people to go to HSA because it will end up being more cost effective for the city.
That is correct. After reviewing with the team and looking at the year over year increases, we didn't used to have a 12% or a 10% with the city, and the thought is, what else can we do? And so that was a potential solution. There are some studies out there about HSAs and having to meet a high deductible and delaying care as a result of that. And so several years ago, when the employee premiums were homogenized more, they were, the HMO or the PPO and the HSA were more closely aligned. That was to try to reduce those people delaying their care. However, with costs compounding since then, they could be addressing that care. That could be part of the reason. But I think looking at the overall budget, the team has looked at trying to drive more people back into that HSA.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the presentation.
Anything else from the dais? Yes, sir.
I'm probably the last person up here to have too many concerns about this. I do concern it for our employees. But two questions. If we have an employee who's, I have military retirement, so I don't use the program. So it's in a unique situation for me. But for people who, say, are starting to get Social Security coverage and they're still working, how does that Medicare enter into that? Is there any reduction in their costs, or do
I'll
they?
take that one, yes. So if they are still actively employed, there is federal law, the Medicare Secondary Payer Act, and it's to shield Medicare from having to pick up costs that an employer health plan would have just because somebody turned 65. And so until that person retires, if they are still an active employee, the employer health plan has to be primary, meaning it has to pay first. Medicare rarely kicks in at all under that environment. It's important once somebody retires that they do elect that Medicare Part B and begin talking with a Medicare representative, which we do have somebody that came out and talked to your employees and gave them some education on that front recently.
Okay, good, that was my only question.
That's it? Anything else from the dais? You had something, City Manager?
Mayor, can I just confirm the direction? So the PPO plan is still going to remain an established plan for our existing employees. We were just not going to allow any new employees into that plan coming October 1st, just because the plan is very expensive for the city. So employees cannot switch from plan to plan. The plans are kind of frozen. Whoever's in is in. And then any new employees would go into the HSA because it is more cost effective. But if that's not the direction from council, then we may see more future cost increases to the budgets in the future. Just wanted to put that out there.
No, I don't think that's the consensus of the council. That's what one councilman said, but I would prefer to shift over because a large portion of our revenue into the city is going into medical services. And that's a large burden on the city. If you look at the total benefit package, medical services, dental, all the insurances is a high premium for us in our total. What is our total for salaries and benefits is like $48 million. Is that right, Ms. Fuller?
Close to that.
That's so you can say that equates to almost our entire ad valorem revenue coming into the city is that those two, salaries and benefit packages. So if the recommendation is a transition over to the health savings accounts, I think we should follow the advice of the specialists that are here on hand.
I have a question. How much would it save us if we, for those who are already in the PPO plan staying there, how much would we save by all new people who sign up going only to HSA or any new employees having to go with HSA?
Have any idea how we could measure that? It would depend on the volume of employees, certainly, but we could model something out for you to that front. I would say that the value of that PPO option, because it's first dollar coverage, the city is on the hook for claims more quickly, and so that's really the balance there. But I don't have a figure that we could say it saves you by doing it. It's more of a mitigating future increases.
Yeah, before I can make a decision on that, I would want to see that figure, because that's the cost-benefit analysis. What can we save? And I think we can't isolate it for 1 year. We'd have to probably look at a 3 to 5 year period, based on your point that there's a delay in reimbursement and things like that. I would say we need to know what it is the city would be saving by only offering HSA in the future before I'm prepared to make a decision.
Yeah, I don't support it. I think we need a sustained PPO so we can recruit the talent that we need. It's an investment in our ability to hire talented folks to come in that require, excellent benefits packages. So I don't support moving forward without PPO on 1 October.
So the direction I see it we're at would be for her to model out, for Danielle to model out what the savings to the city would be. You have any problem with that?
Oh, I don't. I mean, I think I have to go with, it looks like it could be a 2-2 vote if we haven't voted right now.
Well, we're going to be presented again before the budget finalization, right, Danielle?
Well, these calculations are included in your budget projections that's coming July 8th, so we don't have a whole lot of time.
When you say these projections, what projections? What we're currently, this current increase?
Yes.
Okay.
This current increase, and then if you wanted to see, I guess, the delta between what we're requesting for any new positions, because they are at different rates. The city's contribution for HSA is at one rate, and the city's contribution for PPO is at a different rate. And then we do an average of, because we don't know who we're going to hire for, if they're going to be employee only or with dependent coverage. So we can show you the various rates and try and run a scenario. But yes, this increase this $795,000 needs to be in your budget presentations for July 8th.
How quick a turnaround can you have that, Danielle?
Would we need to have a second workshop? I'm sure our team could turn it around in the next couple of days.
We could email it out to you,
Okay.
and you could bring it up at your next meeting.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is that good enough? Yes, sir, I'll get to it. Is there anything else from the dais? We'll open this up, this specific topic, to public participation. Does anyone have anything they would like to say concerning this Yes, ma'am.
Well, I really don't know what to say other than find ways of cutting the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public participation? Okay, we'll bring it back to Dais. Any final comments? No. Thank you, Ms. Danielle and Brandon and Ms. Fuller.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we're going to move on to the next presentation. It's the commercial hauler.
Mayor, City Council, as staff is preparing to come up and get the presentation ready, just wanted to remind some of you that this was a previous City Council strategic action plan priority to look into the opportunities of commercial solid waste hauling. There's a lot of intricacies, and so we went out and procured services and have a consultant who's here to help us. And Miss Alyssa Roscoe has been the project manager for this project. And Alyssa, I'll let you take it away.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Close enough, sorry. Good morning, Council. Alyssa Roscoe, Residential Solid Waste Collection Supervisor, here with Allison Trulock, who is the Solid Waste Practice Managing Director at New Gen Strategies and Solutions, LLC. Just a little bit of history why we're here today. As Ms. Johnston stated, this was provided as a strategic action plan priority back in November of 2023. An in-house analysis was completed and presentation provided in January of 24. May of 24, Council directed us to hire a consultant to examine current processes and procedures in place with our current non-exclusive franchisee agreement process. The RFP went out in July, New Gen was selected in August, intent to award, and then last month the report was finalized. That report was put into the packet for council, so if there are any questions in there, not only is the consultant available, but the full report should be in your packet as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
So the original feedback was to determine the scope of work, obtain information from League of Cities on their process involved for commercial solid waste, and to reach out to other municipalities to see what their processes are. For information, this is our current process. We utilize a non-exclusive franchisee agreement for commercial solid waste collection. This requires haulers to register as franchisees. That means as long as you have the business tax receipt, proof of insurance, copy of your bond, and the application fee, you can be a provider in the city. We just need to ensure that all waste is being disposed of properly and in proper manners. The amounts of insurance, bond coverage, and application fee are dependent on the type of debris being hauled. There are multiple categories within municipal solid waste. There is construction and demolition material, regular municipal solid waste, recycling items. So there's different things that can be applicable to. Currently, the fees outlined in the template are tracked by finance. And then any compliance that was applicable was being provided by code enforcement. But anybody that does operate within the city is required to be a franchisee hauler.
I have a question. Sorry, can you get back to the last slide?
Yes, ma'am.
For this process currently, without the recommendations that we'll see here in a few minutes, how do we ensure that all of our commercial haulers are going through this process? What oversight is there?
As of June 2, we have a commercial compliance officer who will be going out into the community and ensuring that all haulers are registered and the reporting requirements are being completed as well.
Okay, and I commend the hiring of this person because I think we've lost a lot of revenues. But prior to that, had we had anybody overseeing this process?
So our procurement office, they do onboard new haulers. So if somebody reaches out and says, I want to be a hauler in your community, procurement helps them get through and registered and onboarded. And then our finance individuals receive those payments and do track them on a spreadsheet.
So it's more reactive and honor system than it is proactive and enforcement.
Got it. Thank you.
The annual application fee for the franchisee is as follows. The commercial solid waste collection fee is $2,500. For construction and demolition material, that is $1,000. Just to help understanding the differences in that, it's the difference between a front-load dumpster behind a business or in a shopping plaza versus a C&D construction and demolition roll-off that would, say, be in front of a new construction or something with a larger volume. Monthly franchise fees are also required for the municipal solid waste portion. Currently, the city charges a franchise fee of 10% gross revenues billed monthly for commercial solid waste collection, and you can see on this graph here the revenues that have been received from that. Obviously, 2025 is a little smaller because we have not finished with fiscal year 2025 yet, but for fiscal year 2024, we did have $393,720.38 revenues received for that fund.
What fund does that go into? Is that general fund?
General fund, yes, ma'am. It goes into the non-ad valorem revenue bucket, if that's accurate. So as part of the hiring of the consultant, a benchmark study, the entire report was done, but the benchmarking of communities was our largest outreach for that. Communities were selected based off of population size, estimated business account, whether they had a preliminary review indicated that that community may have had a non-exclusive franchise system for collection services. So as you can see, there is a list of the cities that were looked at. We tried not only to go population-wise, but also you see Flagler Beach on there. Population doesn't match, but they're our neighbors. We also looked at Bunnell as well. Both our neighbors do provide in-house municipal services. Some things to point out are the application fees that do vary, as well as the amount that is charged monthly, if that is applicable. We are currently at a 10%. Boca Raton does a split. They do 8% for garbage, 10% for C&D. Clearwater, Daytona Beach, both are, and Gainesville are all at 15%, and Hollywood City is at 25%. West Palm Beach does do something a little differently, where they do an annual flat rate rather than a monthly invoicing, so that is available as well. We also looked at analysis of what would be required for services to be brought in-house. As you can imagine, there's a large capital outlay required with that. Trucks, facilities to park those trucks at, dumpsters, roll-offs, containers, staffing, location, fleet maintenance staff. There's a lot of things that would go into having those services in-house. The 2024 cost for a 40-yard commercial front-load dumpster, roll-off truck was approximately $386,000, so that it's quite a bit. Those costs are 2024 as well, so we can expect those to be adjusted slightly. The biggest thing that would impact would be the displacement law would apply. And what that displacement law states is if you're going to change the structure in which the commercial services are collected, you're required to provide a 3 years notice and pay out 18 months past gross receipts. Initial analysis look at that to be approximately $6 million. We also did look at, like I said, our neighboring communities providing those services in-house, and they're getting approximately a 10% ROI, which is already equal to the franchisee fee that we are receiving. Back when we originally spoke to council and it was added, council directed us to reach out to the Florida League of Cities. The response that we received is that the trend on this has been downward, and more toward privatization because of those huge capital outlay costs. The individual that reached out says that they've been around since the 1980s, and for the past 10 years, pretty much everybody has stayed on providing those services, not in-house. So the analysis findings, just kind of go over everything in a review. Our franchisee fee is lower than some of the benchmark communities. The displacement law would apply if the city were to either switch to an exclusive or to bring those services in-house. Looking at that reporting, it may be cost prohibitive. Like I said, it's approximately $6 million just for the buyout portion of it. The city currently has 6 franchisees, 5 of whom regularly remit their required monthly reporting. So improving the enforcement measures, as Ms. Panieri was saying, or Vice Mayor Panieri was saying, would help improve those franchisee fee revenues received and provide the city more insight into that commercial hauling process. We are not currently applying the franchisee fee to commercial collectibles or C&D collection. That is only for the application. There is no requirement for them to pay monthly at present. Many of our peer communities are benchmarked that they apply that franchisee fee to all commercial collections. It's not limited just to the MSW. And city ordinance does already allow the application of those. It would just be council's recommendations and then updating the forms. So some changes that we've already started after having this review. New staff was budgeted. They started on June 2nd. They will enforce any liquidated damages that are applicable per the franchisee agreement. They'll ensure registration, ensure proper disposal, and any compliance with financial reporting. So we will be more proactive rather than reactive in that monthly fees. We also utilized we built out a platform utilizing existing software, so there were no additional costs or fees, and that will allow us to track invoicing, liquidated damages, what type of franchisees there were, and then just kind of holding them more accountable, so we have a tracking system on, hey, we have to reach out to you every month, you know, get in line with us, just so that we can kind of keep it more uniform. So with that, council, there are 3 options. Option 1 would be to keep the non-exclusive franchisee agreement with the possibility of increasing the commercial franchise fee to more closely align with our surrounding areas. Add C&D and recycling to that required monthly reporting. And then we've, as I stated, already added that staff to ensure compliance. Option 2 would be a exclusive franchisee agreement. And what that means is it would be more in line with our residential contract, where you have one hauler providing all of the services. So it's got the same franchisee fee amount, so the revenues would not be any higher. However, it would require more in-house responsibility and oversight, as we would be selecting that hauler and then making sure they stay in compliance. Again, the displacement law would be in effect, which would require that 3-year notice and 18-month past gross receipt payout. Option 3 is to provide those in-house services. As stated, there's a large capital outlay and the displacement law would apply. Did anyone have any questions in regard to that's the end of my presentation, if anybody has any questions.
Any question from the dais? Anything, Vice Mayor?
I have a couple, yes, thank you, Mayor. So just for a little bit of history, I pushed on this pretty hard from last council because I became aware that we were just really, there wasn't really much, if any, oversight. I shouldn't say any. There was a little bit of oversight on commercial haulers in the community, but to be quite frank, it's kind of the Wild West. We were definitely missing out on revenues, not capturing everything that we could capture. So I really appreciate the consultant assisting and staff and Alyssa, everything that you've done to make sure that we're capturing revenues that we can capture, particularly because this goes into our general fund, which we know directly affects property taxes. So all upside here. My questions are really based on moving forward the contracts that we have with the haulers. So I know when I was looking in the consultant's backup materials, I saw that we had table 4-4 compared liquidated damages, excuse me, for the failure to report. And it looks like our liquidated damages, it just says liquidated damages. But if you look at some of the other cities, Boca Raton and Clearwater are examples, There's an actual defined amount. So it says, for Boca Raton, hauler must pay 3 times what was originally owed, plus the legal fee. And then for Clearwater, it says, if hauler is off on franchise fees by over 5%, they must pay 15% interest on the underpaid amount. Plus there's a per day late fee. Those are things that we definitely, I think, need to beef up, because I can tell you, as a practicing attorney, when I see liquidated damages that aren't defined in a contract, I cringe, because it's so amorphous. So if we can define that, I would rely on you all to come up with something.
There is a list of, and I apologize for it not being in the packet, that we do have a list of liquidated damage and administrative charges that are applicable in the non-exclusive agreement we have currently. Now, is it as beefy as council would like? Maybe not, but we do have, failure to provide required documents and reports in a timely and accurate manner, $250. So, I mean, while it's not as robust, it does have, there are 28 defined liquidated damages that could be applicable both in field and in administrative charges.
Okay, so we don't have the contract in our packet here.
Okay, I will make sure we get that resolved for you.
Thank you. I would like to see them really hit in the wallet. So me personally, I like the hauler has to pay 3 times what the original amount was, things like that, because I tend to see that when you hit somebody in the wallet, they comply. Naturally, that's what happens, especially as a business owner. So that was one of my concerns. The other was the monthly reporting, the person that we're hiring to do this. Is there a program that or a computer program that we're using to track these and make sure?
Yes, we worked with our IT department to develop it's already in the existing platform. However, it will allow us to track and provide dashboards and reporting all on those items. And I mean, it's everything from totaling what all accounts were received or just that individual hauler. It'll also allow us to see trends on, is everyone reporting on time, or did we have to utilize staff to reach out and track down our money? That sort of issue. There's also options for photo and record keeping so that we can keep all that information in a singular file per hauler. And it also helps us with dates so that we can ensure, hey, their contract their franchise agreement is expired or it's going to expire.
Okay, so when you say this platform built out for tracking, that's already done. That's not something we have to budget for now?
There were no funds utilized for it. It was all done in-house.
Okay, perfect. And then my last question I know it said in the backup materials that apartment complexes are technically commercial. As far as this is concerned.
Correct.
Do we have any mechanism in place that makes large developments like that, apartment complexes, actually tell us who their hauler is so that we can then make sure they're registered with us?
So yes and no. The residential collection division is a new one. We've only been around for a few years per council direction to have more oversight on higher dollar contracts. As such, we've been trying to find where things have been, procurement did this, or finance did this, or code did this, or customer service, and trying to bring all of those things under our umbrella. As such, we have worked with other divisions such as the Community Development Division. So for instance, technically our residential contract only covers dwellings up to 4 under a rooftop. So condos, townhomes, quadruplexes, things of that nature. But now we have condos that are being, built with more than 6 units under a rooftop. So we had to add processes in for that so that we could ensure those builders weren't building these townhouse complexes and then had no services because they thought we were going to do it. So we've added that in for the condos, the townhomes, the apartments, things of that nature. We don't have it set specifically to which hauler is providing that service, but that's something that I can discuss with that division.
Yeah, I would like to get consensus that we make that a part of the process, because I feel like that would be a huge issue if the apartments in our community are not reporting to us the hauler that they're using so that we can regulate those. Likewise, I would like to know, because I know we talked about construction materials, are projects, big developments, I would like to know what haulers they're going to use when we have a development. I don't know if it was something that maybe Jason could answer this, something that would be in the development order, or if it's just something that administratively we need to be aware of when they decide who their hauler is going to be for construction materials. And I'm not talking about, you know, an infill lot construction, you know, those are smaller scale, but larger scale construction projects, I would like to see, make sure we have oversight on that stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for the work again.
Problem with that? Anyone have
Could you
any
may I
issues
add
with that?
something to that, too?
Yes,
If I may just add one more thing to that, with the revised reporting form that was also in the report, the city would then have more clarity on the customers and may potentially be able to compare that to like a business license database, just as another mechanism to kind of get to your point, the other way of making sure people are using the licensed haulers or the ones that actually have the franchise.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. It could be used both ways, certainly. Yeah, thank you for that.
All right, anything else? So we have, are we in consensus to go with the increasing the franchise fee to be more comparable to other similarly sized cities?
Yeah, I think everything under option one.
One.
Yeah, everybody's good with that?
One.
All right, any further discussion from the dais? We'll open this presentation up for public comment. Does anyone have any public comments concerning the commercial haulers? Yes, ma'am, Miss Denise.
Denise Henry, Palm Coast. The only thing I think that she did mention about having the commercial services provide recycling. I think that's very important, especially at apartments. I just had a lady at my church ask me about that. She just moved here. If you lived in New York like I did for 12 years, we were recycling years and years ago. And she said there's nowhere in her apartment that they have for recycling. And she found that disturbing. So I think that we should require that, especially condos, apartments, that kind of trash recycling should have recycling in the city.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Is there any guidance provided to apartments and condos as far as having a specific area for recycles?
Yes, so as far as if it's required, we do require that MSW haulers are also able to haul recyclables, but it's up to the apartments or the commercial entity themselves if they wish to participate. So there's no requirement that if you have an apartment complex, you're required to provide recycling to residents. So that's something that maybe needs to be looked at.
The city could possibly mandate that if we wanted. Something to think about for a later date. Anything else from the dais?
I agree with you, Mayor. I think there should be a larger discussion as to the process of processing our trash and recyclables too. So perhaps a bigger discussion outside of the purview of this, but I agree it needs to be looked at.
Yeah. Now, I just came back from Europe, and it's a big deal over there, especially glass for some reason.
Glass.
Okay, anything further from the dais? Okay, with that being said, thank you, Ms. Roscoe. We're going to move on to the next presentation, overview of the trim.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This is part of your annual budget process. We will start with an overview of property taxes and trim, where Helena, Ms. Alves, and Ms. Gwen Ragsdale will go through the various things from the property appraiser level to what we are projecting for the city for next year. This is the start of a series of presentations, and we will review that calendar as one of the last slides. So I'll give it to Gwen.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ladies. Let's get on with it.
Sorry.
Good morning, Mayor and City Council. Gwen Ragsdale, your Budget and Procurement Manager, along with Helena Alves, your Financial Services Director, are here today to talk about property tax and trim. This is in preparation for our July 8th General Fund presentation, where we'll be discussing setting the maximum millage rate. So truth in millage, or trim, establishes statutory requirements. All taxing authorities levying a millage must follow requirements for the full disclosure of the rates and amounts of taxes prior to levying the taxes. The City of Palm Coast submits a package to TRIM for evaluation to make sure that we have met these requirements. And once verified, we receive a certification letter. All taxing authorities follow these same rules. This is a look at the TRIM timeline, which is established by the Florida Department of Revenue. By June 1st, the property appraiser provides an estimate of total assessed value of non-exempt property. This has been received by the city, and we will review the information later in this presentation. By July 1st, the property appraiser will certify the taxable value, and within 35 days of the value certification, the current year's proposed maximum millage rate must be set. On July 15th, Council will adopt the maximum millage rate. As a reminder, the assessed millage can be reduced, but cannot be increased after that point. The process of determining property tax involves 3 agencies: the property appraiser, the tax collector, and the city. The property appraiser is responsible for the assessed value, which determines the base for the calculation. There are several exemptions that are available to residents, and the applicability of an exemption is determined by the property appraiser's office. The net of the assessed value less exemptions represents the taxable value. City Council determines the millage or tax rate, and the millage rate multiplied by the taxable value gives us the ad valorem tax amount. This calculation can be found in detail on the revenue source handout and is also available on the city's website. The third agency involved is the tax collector, which is responsible for collecting taxes from the residents and distributing them to the various taxing districts, including the city. So because Florida is subject to the Save Our Homes Act, it is not unusual to have a significant difference between the market value and the taxable value. This act establishes a limitation cap in the form of a homestead exemption for the taxable value of a homestead property. The cap restricts increases of more than 3% of the assessed value from the prior year, or the consumer price index. This means that as the market increases, there could be a significant gap in the amount of tax due from a resident who has held the property for 10 years versus the next-door neighbor who just moved to the city. Additionally, the taxable value for non-homesteaded property can only increase by 10% per year. The property appraiser's website has a calculator that can help prospective residents calculate the applicable property tax due for a particular address within the county. This graph is an illustration of that gap. As you can see, in year 1, both the taxable and market value are the same. If the market values were to increase by 50%, the taxable value could only increase by 3%. As the years pass, the gap becomes more significant. The TRIM notice, or Notice of Property Taxes, Form DR 474, is sent out by the property appraiser's office. This is a sample of a TRIM notice for a property with a taxable value of approximately $100,000. The city's portion represents $345 of the total property taxes of $1,638. There are several other agencies that levy taxes in Flagler County, such as the Board of County Commissioners and the School Board. Also on the side, it lists when the public hearings will be held and where each taxing authority is. So I will now turn it over to Helena.
Thank you. So this illustration offers a quick look at how each dollar of tax collected is allocated between the taxing authorities. As you can see, Flagler County receives 45 cents, the school board 29 cents, the city of Palm Coast receives 23 cents, and the balance of 3 cents is spread out amongst the other taxing districts. This distribution is based on millage rates that are set by each taxing authority. Ad valorem revenues are the main revenue source for the general fund. Fiscal year 2025 projected ad valorem revenue accounted for 65% of total general fund revenue. As you can see, the largest portion, or 45%, is allocated to public safety to support the fire department and the contract with the Flagler County Sheriff's Office. It's followed by 17% allocated to public works, 14% allocated to community development. Parks maintenance, Parks and Recreation Administration are at approximately 7%, and the remaining 2% is for CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency. We added a link there where you can find a tax breakdown. You can visit our website. That is the link. You can actually put in your address, and it'll show how much is allocated to each one of our different divisions within the general fund. This chart has the history of property values, millage rate, receipts collected, and population. The fiscal year 2026 population number is coming from the city's community development, estimating at 114,858 residents. The fiscal year 2026 property values are based on the preliminary valuation that we received on June 1st from the property appraisers. We will receive final numbers on July 1st, and we'll be able to update for your July 8th presentation.
So just while we're here, we've been getting the agenda packet out a little bit ahead of time, so you will not get the July 8th budget presentation this week. We need to wait until we get that final number from the property appraiser, so just want to put that out there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So the June valuation provides for an increase of 9.29% in the SAS taxable value. Of the 9.29%, approximately 5.27 is attributable to new construction. As you can see, at the same millage rate of fiscal year 2025 of 4.1893, the city would generate approximately $43 million in ad valorem revenues, or an increase of $3.7 million. Of that $3.7 million, new construction would account for $2.1 million of the increase, and the balance attributable to current existing properties. This chart is a millage rate comparison. Florida cities that have a population between 95,000 and 120,000 residents. The information for this comes from two websites, the Florida Department of Revenue and the Office of Economic and Demographic Research. There are currently 11 Florida cities that fall into this population range. Of these 11 cities, Palm Coast has the second lowest millage rate. I do want to say it's not apples to apples comparison, as we don't have the details of what other revenue sources these communities have or what type of services they offer. This chart offers a millage rate comparison in our neighboring cities and counties. Palm Coast does have the third lowest millage rate with one of the highest population rates. Same as the previous slide, communities are all different, so it doesn't represent apples to apples comparison. So looking ahead, we're not going to go into detail on our timeline, but July starts our budget workshops and the adoption of the tentative maximum millage rate. August will be our capital budgets and final proposed budget. And then in September, we'll hold our two public hearings for the adoption of the final millage rate and the final budget. We do want to remind the public where they can find all of our good budget information. As in previous years, we have set up the fiscal year 2026 budget preparation link on the city's main website. This is where we'll post all of our presentations, supporting documentation as we move through the budget process. As a reminder, we will be back on July 8th to review the general fund budget and trim rate discussions. This completes our presentation. We'll take questions.
Thank you, Helena. Anything from the dais?
Thank you for the presentation. I just, as we're getting into budget cycle here and looking at all the different budgets, I would like to see what our budget would look like with 1/10 of a rollback, at least. I know we've got some pretty big projects, things that the community wants, like the YMCA, that type of stuff would have to come out of general fund revenues. Maybe impact fees, but we don't have them in there right now, so we'd have to at least temporarily get them from somewhere. So that's just what I would like to see. I don't know what council's feelings are on that.
So not a full rollback?
Not a full.
Just a tenth?
Well, I'm not saying that we can't entertain a full rollback, but I'm saying that at the very least, when looking to set the max millage rate, the max that I would like to see is a 10th rolled back. We can always go lower. That's always the rule, right? You can't go any higher than that max, right?
Number is the next one we
But
have to
I want
decide
us
on.
to strive to at least go with a 10th of a rollback.
I have no problem with that. Anything else from the dais?
Nope, I think it's pretty clear cut.
There yet. We're just getting into the process. We'll open this up for public comment. Anyone have anything? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jeannie Duarte. This just came in. I'm reading it off from somebody's notes.
This is about this specific topic.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Their friend is being taxed on bulk sale of properties that was divided. He bought one of 4 parcels and is being taxed on 4 parcels. So are the other neighbors. He and his neighbors are all being taxed as if it was a single parcel with 4 improvements, houses, instead of being assessed as a single home on a single parcel. If you can, I don't know.
We'll have to follow up after this, Jeannie.
Okay, I was wondering if any of that had to do with any of that, okay.
No, that might be a bit too complex for this setting right now, but we'll.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to say as well. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Any further public comment? Yes, Mr. Webb.
Mark Webb, Palm Coast. Great presentation. 2 things I'd like to point out, if we could go back to that example of the taxes that city
Can
of
you pull
Palm
up the
Coast
tr-
pay.
Can you
Could
pull up the
bring that
trim,
up
the trim notice?
quickly?
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the one that just shows how much we pay in county
Yes, yes, sir.
taxes, which is double what we pay in city taxes. Right back, right there. So if you go up, you'll see 8% for a county, only 4% for city. Now, if you'll go to that pie chart that shows where that money goes, you'll see right there, ironically, 17% of city property taxes goes to law enforcement. Who is the law enforcement in Palm Coast? County sheriffs. So I am posing and suggesting, and the citizens are telling me, they want to know what they're getting for their $11 million to the county sheriff's department, when studies and surveys show the #1 complaint is enforcement. County sheriffs. Why are we paying double for sheriff department that is already mandated to provide equivalent services? I've looked back and seen the presentations that Sheriff Staley has given to us. Exceptional services, more sheriffs, all these things to justify us feeding the county. The citizens are aware now that we're double paying for the sheriff's department. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but with this effort of Doge being brought in by the sheriff representing us, the questions need to be asked and justified. And that's what I'm really asking you guys to do, to represent the citizens of Palm Coast in questioning and justifying the additional cost for services by the sheriff's department. And if it's justifiable, if we get what we need from it, then the citizens will be excited to continue to support that. Opportunities for the next 3 months are going to be exciting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Yes, the sheriff will be doing his presentation, and we are a contract city with the sheriff's department, but We'll be going over all those numbers during the process. Anything else, anyone else for public comment? If not, we'll bring it back to Dust. Any follow-ups, any last comments before we move on?
No, in your July 8th presentation, we'll run that scenario for what a tenth of a mil looks like.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anything else from the council members? All right, thank you, Helena.
Thank you.
We'll move on to presentation 4, Palm Harbor Golf Course, Golf Club Draft RFP.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. This is follow-up from a previous workshop item. You asked us to come back with a draft RFP. We also conducted an appraisal for the facility. And also, Ms. Pontieri, you asked about what the rate increase would need to be in order to cover future capital projects. And we have those capital projects and what the rates would need to be increased. And James is out of country, and so Jason is covering for him in his absence. And with Jason is our recreation manager, Mr. Dennis Redican.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Sorry. Good morning, Mayor, City Council. City Manager Johnson did a really good job of covering what we're going to go over this morning. Here's the agenda. We're going to talk about some updates. We're going to go over the RFP, which is included in your packet, the draft. Look at the appraisal summary, the complete appraisals in your backup. Look at some budget items, what a 5-year CIP looks like for the golf course, and then some forecasted revenue and a potential rate adjustment. So starting with the RFP, James, Marcus, and I worked on this. It includes a transition timeline. The proposal will need to include a transition timeline, a capital plan and a business plan, and a list of their experiences in running a golf course. They will also have to prove their financial capability of acquiring the course, set a minimum purchase price, which we would look for some guidance from you, council, how you'd like to approach that. And then, of course, letters of reference for the proposers. Some items that we also included in the RFP to protect the residents that live around the golf course is that the land shall remain a golf course, and we would rezone it from MPD to P&G, Parks and Greenways. We would include a deed restriction requiring the property to be operated as a functioning golf course, and put some reverter language in there as well if it no longer operated as a golf course, that the city would have the opportunity to return it. The draft RFP also includes a scoring outline on how the projects would be scored. And that's all in your backup. As we move to the appraisal, we went out for RFP, selected an appraisal company that had experience in golf course appraisals. That was CBR&E, and they appraised the value at $1,825,000. That included the property, the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and the business interest as well. And they list the business as a going concern. And in real estate, a going concern is that you assume that the business will continue. And they say in the appraisal report that the value of the property when it's sold, along with the business operating within it, and they assume that the business will continue. So their appraisal is based on the business itself plus the land and the fixtures. They have a depreciated value, and this is on page 128 of your backup. The appreciated value of the furniture and fixtures, is 63%. So they value the furniture and fixtures and equipment at a little over $700,000, but once depreciated, they listed as $315,000. The appraisal also considered the course itself, the facilities that are there, the condition, the operating performance as being stable, but revenues below ideal range, and they estimate that it would need about 9 to 12 months of marketing time to sell it. Moving on to the current budget and some projections. The course is projected to have total revenues of 1.757 million, and expenditures, these are projected expenditures of 1,922,000. The column on the left is the year-to-date. This is an overview of the budget. I just wanted to point out that the interfund transfers are for equipment that the funds were transferred to fleet to purchase equipment. Moving on to some needs at the golf course in the next 5 years. The irrigation pump needs to be replaced at a estimated amount. We've had some quotes done at about $278,000, and staff called around and got some quotes for estimates for what it would take to renovate the greens over the 5-year period at about $1.2 million. So there's a little less than $1.5 million worth of capital improvements that need to be considered at the golf course. These are the current rates, and they include the changes that you made last year. And these are some proposed rates if you wanted to maintain the status quo at the golf course, however, pick up the CIP projects that are necessary and to be able to run in the black. And this is the forecasted revenue with the new rates and expenditures over the 5-year period, and annually over the 5-year period. So new rates would generate total revenue in $2.2 million. You have a $295,000, not quite $300,000 allocation to the CIP for those projects, the greens and the pump house, which would provide positive revenue of $76,000
Hey, Jason,
annually.
let me jump in here. Where is that yearly allocation coming from?
From the rates. So the rates would be raised high enough. They're about $10 per class, $10 to $11 per round per class, which would generate significantly more funds than the CIP. The total CIP over the 5 years was broken out over, it was allocated annually over 5 years at $295,000 per year for the greens and for the irrigation pump, and this produced a positive outcome of approximately $76,000 per year. Any other questions about this slide?
Not that slide. Yeah. Oh, you can move along, Jason.
And that is the presentation. So you have the RFP in the backup, and you have the appraisal in the backup for your consideration. And then we're looking for guidance on how you would like to move forward, including the potential for a minimum offer on the golf course.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, sir. Go right ahead.
Okay.
Just so I'm clear on it, how do we handle Looper's Restaurant in this?
Oh, they have a lease. It's a 5-year lease with 3 5-year renewals, but it's on the city's, I believe, Marcus, I don't know if you've looked at it recently, but I believe that it's on the city's right to retain them. Yeah, and they're in year 3 of their initial 5-year lease. Their lease also includes the opportunity for them to have first right of offer on any new clubhouse that would be purchased, that would be constructed.
That's where it is, I mean.
So it would be, so in theoretically, Ms. Sullivan, the restaurant would be included in the sale. It just, we would put notice that there's a lease, the lease would have to be honored until it.
For 2 more years.
Yes.
Yeah.
got something?
I do,
Councilmember?
yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with regards to the RFP, I think $2 million is a fair opening, your base bid, okay? Also, I think that the golf course itself should be retained. Whatever entity, could potentially buy it, it should still be remained open to the public. We don't want somebody purchasing this golf course and making it an exclusively private golf course, okay? So I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but I think that's important because of the history of the course and because of our residents that use it now.
Yeah, I agree with that. It should be, continue to be open to public, and probably some detail on how we would go about requesting that in the RFP. I don't think it's enough maybe just to say has to remain open to the public. I think we'd have to look at what the current situation is and then try to come fairly close, even though it is sold, to what we offer our citizens now.
Anything else, sir?
Yeah, yes, and so, I'm the one that started this initiative for us to take a look at the golf course. And so, what prompted me is the proven record of our inability as a team to be able to run this golf course in the black, and that's without even including the capital expenditures. So there's a proven track record, okay? That's what prompted it. And so as we look at Doge, this is a great example for the city to save money, on average of $400,000 a year. It also, we'll get revenue from the sale. We'll get commercial business tax from it, and we'll also pay utilities. So I think it's prudent, in my estimation, for this council to put this thing out to bid and see what we can get for it. And at the end of the day, it'll be our decision on whether or not we move forward. But what we've been doing in the past, hemorrhaging money without even accounting for the capital improvement plans, and we're just now putting that into the factor. I mean, it still doesn't overcome the money that we've lost. But what I do want, if a private entity does purchase it, is a golf course that is a huge destination stop for people to get off I-95 and play golf there, okay? But a track record of losing money, revenue from the sale, commercial business tax, utility tax. This is a way for us to bring forward revenue towards the city in a way that could bring a new opportunity for us for our residents and how they play golf. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
You got anything else, Councilman Sullivan?
No, not at this point. I do think it makes sense to push on with this RFP.
You got anything, Vice Mayor?
Yes, I have some questions and then some comments. So the allocations, the internal allocations, I think we need to take a very close look at those. So I discussed with Ms. Johnston how we came up with the IT allocations. And I want us, before we decide to go out to RFP, I think we need to take a very close look at whether or not the allocations are practical rather than just being based on some formulas that we have used consistently and may work in other instances. But based on what was described to me as how we do IT allocations for golf, I don't see it. $40,000 dedicated to IT for the golf course makes no sense to me, and that's only one allocation. We also have a fleet allocation, which makes more sense to me, just generally speaking, as far as it being fleet. But I would like to see historically what the actual numbers have been, what the actual work has been by the departments that have gotten those allocations, so that we know what we are on paper saying is a debit towards us is actually ferreting out in what we're paying for. Because we're basing this decision on what the numbers show, but are the numbers in practical application actually ferreting out what the numbers are showing on paper? So that's number one. Number two, I have some deep reservations about this appraisal. Respectfully, Councilman Gambaro, I don't agree with the appraisal. Back in 2016, JDI bought this property for, I believe, $5.5 million, $6 million, something like that. I don't know how it depreciated when everything else has gone up. I don't know how this depreciated to this extent 10 years later. I also know that when they donated the golf course to us, the tax write-off that they took for it was much larger than $1.8 million. So we've got some issues here before we decide to make this decision. I'm not prepared to give direction to staff at this point. I'm inclined to try to figure out how we can keep it. I agree with you. I don't want to keep purging money. I don't want to keep losing money on the golf course. I don't think we should be subsidizing people playing golf. But I think that if we get in a little bit deeper, we can fix this rather than selling off what is a very precious asset to our community. I also would like to take a look at the running of the golf course itself. I know we've talked about that. I don't know what it takes to run a golf course, obviously, but I just, I want to try to figure out how to keep this thing. I know that as far as we've talked about renting carts versus buying carts. I'm looking at a white paper that was put together by staff that compares those costs. I don't know if we maybe need to revisit that. Things change. I know that there was a floated battery charge fee that we could tack on to cart fees in order to help with those costs that could generate between $40,000 and $80,000 in revenue to help us with operational costs. So I don't think that we have ferreted out all of the options fairly yet in order to make this decision. So staff has come up with some really good ideas that didn't make this presentation. And it's not their fault. We asked you to go out for RFP and show us what that looks like, and we have this appraisal and what that would look like. But I think that some of these other ideas that staff has had come back before us, and let's look at some of these other ways to increase our revenues and decrease our costs. I want to see us, if we have to raise rates a little bit more in order to get into the black, well, then I think we need to do it. But I also think that we really, I don't want to raise them by $10 across the board. That's about what it comes out to be if you look at the chart. I don't want to go that route. If we can raise them by $5 or $6 and look at some of these other ways to reduce costs and increase revenues in other ways, i.e. a battery charge fee that you tack onto a cart fee, then let's look at that first. But I've got some severe reservations about, even if we did go out to RFP, only selling this thing for $1.8 million.
Thank you, ma'am. I was not here when you guys talked about this and put this RFP out. I'm completely against it. That golf course is the center of this city and has been for quite a long time. And I know I've dealt with it. My sister went through them selling a golf course that was backed up to her house just to build condos. And I certainly don't agree with the appraisal. How many acres is the golf course, Jason?
It's like 1,200? No.
141.
Yeah.
141.
141 acres.
141 acres. Property value here, there's a quarter-acre lot around the corner from my house going for $120,000. So, and I know full well that this property will wind up as housing or apartments or something else, not as it was intended, and we're not going to save the golf course. If we sell that golf course, it's over. That area of the city is going to be used up, and I'm not going to back anything like that. The first thing is the right type of management. From my understanding, did the person that was running the golf course quit?
Yes.
So if we started putting out, for a qualified golf course manager to come in to manage the golf course?
No, Mayor, we're really waiting on direction from City Council is what they want to do, because I think bringing in staff, if City Council wanted to sell the golf course, is not really fair.
Staff, I get that part. But there are plenty of men and women that have been in this room that use that golf course regularly, and a lot of them have come with great ideas and they know exactly how to manage a golf course, and there's no way I'm going to support selling our city's golf course. Just the acreage alone, 141, just divide that by 4, multiply it by $120,000. See how much that property is really worth. as far as fees and stuff are concerned, I think we should raise the fees to keep us in the black and keep operating. We don't have to make money on the golf course. All we got to do is break even. Another thing as far as fees, do the school's golf teams, do they pay fees to play golf on our golf course?
No, they do not.
They need to pay golf fees. Those kids pay fees every year to be part of those teams. They need to be paying a fee. We can't be giving golf away. We have to charge to maintain our golf course.
Mayor, we would have to look into our interlocal agreement that we have with Flagler Schools because we have a reciprocal facilities agreement. We use their facilities and they use ours, so we would have to reevaluate that interlocal as well.
Oh, that's fine. I have no problem with reevaluating that, but I am not gonna support any selling of that property at all. And because it is an amenity for this community, and I'm not gonna support it. That would be my steps. The first thing you do is fix the management and the costs associated, as what you mentioned, Vice Mayor, about cart rental, as far as cart renting and buying outright. And I think the fees is a good idea. So we need to do further analysis on this, and I am not going to be in favor of ever selling our golf course, not while I'm sitting in this seat.
There was just one more comment that I had, or question, I guess. So we know what happened with Matanzas. How do we prevent that? Because there were deed restrictions there too. I mean, there's so many, if the owner filed bankruptcy, you know, yeah, a reverter clause, but at what price do we have to purchase back the golf course? And what if we don't have the money budgeted? I mean, there's so many unknowns with this, but I'm very nervous that we would go through what Matanzas has gone through.
Were there deed restrictions?
I don't know the background. I would have to look.
There's deed restrictions.
On the Matanzas course?
There's view protection zones, all of these things that people try to get around. There was a huge legal dispute about it several years ago.
Was it in the covenant? Was there a covenant that said that it had to stay a golf course?
There still are. Yeah, what they're interchanging words with fairways, keep it a fairway. They're getting, you know, lawyers, we like semantics, right? But I mean, so there's been some legal play there, but I mean, you know, we can learn from that and make it better if that's the direction that council decides to go. But I want to make sure that we are in fact learning from that, if that's the direction that council decides to go. I also would like to know, so when I was looking at the comparables in the appraisal for our revenues versus other course revenues, I was floored by what other courses are making on food and beverage. We missed the boat, and Loopers got a deal.
Well, that was kind of my point.
And I will tell you, in all candor, I was on council. I was first on council when that Loopers lease came to us. I didn't know any better. Like I said, I don't run golf courses. I asked staff, I specifically remember asking staff, is this comparable rent? And the answer was yes. And perhaps it is, but at a golf course where I'm seeing these golf courses are making $500,000 on food and beverage a year, and Loopers is paying us sub $18,000 a year, and good for them. They're a great restaurant. They provide a great service to our community. I'm glad they're there. But I think that it benefits Loopers for the golf course to stay with the city of Palm Coast. Perhaps we go back to them and see if maybe we can negotiate some type of 1 or 2%, or a low percentage of their revenues as a part of their lease agreement with the city in an effort to keep this golf course with the city. They don't have to, you know, they have a contract with us. So that would be 100% up to them. But I can tell you from my perspective, from my analysis, deciding how we move forward, we need to get revenues from somewhere in order to keep this. And Loopers is making a ton of money over there. And like I said, good for them. I really like them. I like the owner. I'm glad they're doing well and they're successful. When the renewals come up, whether I'm in this seat or not, I would say, hey, this is the warning sign. Let's make sure we're renewing the way we need to be renewing and getting what we should be getting off of that lease. But I would maybe go back to them and just have a candid conversation. Hey, we need to see how we can keep this golf course with the city of Palm Coast. Are you all willing to renegotiate the lease? Just a little bit, just to help out a little bit. I mean, if that's one drop in the bucket to many drops to make this happen, then I think we need to do it.
I would also say that one of the county commissioners approached me about them coming back to take another bite of the apple for Matanzas. So we're in that situation as well.
Oh, they're doing that, yeah.
Do you have something else,
Yes, I do. So when we look at the appraisal, this was an appraisal specifically done for a golf course, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And as the business of a golf course, not as a development of a project, which
Okay,
would have
are
a-
those typically, do those appraisals typically come in lower? I mean, you can't compare it to the lot across the street or something like that, right? I mean,
Yes.
what's the comparison and the appraisal strategy for this type of a sale?
That section is on page 161 of your packet, where they describe how the going concern market value is adjusted.
Okay, so the answer is yes. So typically, they're a
Yes.
lot lower.
It says, I don't have that open right, but from memory, it says that they're adjusted usually 50 to 70%, and they used 46.5%.
Okay.
That's correct, Jason, that's what it says.
Okay, so this city, and in particular our Parks and Recreation Department, have had year after year after year to run this operation in the black, and they have not. They have a proven losing track record without even compiling the capital improvement projects. I think it is irresponsible to not put this out to RFP for our residents to maintain it a golf course, open to the public, but I think it is irresponsible not to put it out to see what we can get. And so I understand where you stand, Vice Mayor, and I understand where you stand, Mr. Mayor, but I disagree. And so, and I disagree with burning any more calories and trying to assess to see how we can maybe get to a better place. We've had years to do that. And, you know, I have no idea where Councilman Miller sits on this, but I think it'd be good to get his position on this agenda item.
Well, to your point, Councilman Gambaro, maybe, is it possible for staff to address some of the concerns that we've talked about and bring it back to the next workshop so that Councilman Miller will be here? Because right now, it seems like we might be at a deadlock.
Well, can we concurrently put out an RFP, do 2 tracks of analysis?
I can't support that. I can't support that based on getting into all of this. And I was more than willing to look at that before all of this was presented and more information came to light to me, when I thought that there was no way we'd get out of the red. But I think we can get out of the red without raising rates to $65 a round. It's going to take a little bit more work. And to your point, yes, we've had a lot of opportunity to do that, but it's only been in the last year that we've tried. We haven't looked at it like this before. So I think we owe it to our residents, and I think we owe it to ourselves in making sure we're enacting good policy and handling our assets the right way to look at this again. And I would say we should bring it back to the next workshop with more information.
I just had one thing. Historically, I believe about roughly 10 years ago, and I may be wrong on the number, we spent a tremendous amount of money to redo the golf course, new cart paths. I think it was something like $8 million we put into the golf course. So we tried to do all the things to make it better. But in spite of that investment, that we're not counting here at all, we are still not able to run the golf course in the black. There are other public golf courses in the city, Cypress Knoll and the other ones. They're open to the public. They charge roughly the same rates, so it's not like we're taking. Golf courses are a little bit different, and when you look at them as an amenity, yes, they are an amenity, but they're also in competition with other local amenities that are open to the public. So we wouldn't actually be taking away public access the way we wrote the RFP. So I'm just interested to see, given the amount of money we put into the golf course over the years, is there some way, and we still lose money, is there some way we can still provide the ability of our citizens to have access to golf, but doing it in a way that doesn't keep costing the city a lot of money? But I mean, I'll go along with what the majority think here, but I do think the track record is not particularly good on how much it costs the city to maintain this golf course based on the history.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I would encourage those golfers that are active on these courses in the city to come forward, someone that's interested in and knows how to actively or, positively manage a successful golf course to come forward and bring your names forward. But as I see it, I have no appetite for selling our golf course, because I know what's going to happen. I know 20 years from now it's going to be gone. And what's going to happen when we start talking about the budgets within other Parks and Recs department? What if I wanted to say, let's put out an RFP to sell the Southern Recreation Center? What's going to be your response then? That would be my question. That's a money hog too. It sucks up a lot of resources. So anything else from the dais?
Mayor, if I can, you guys talked a little bit all over the place, and I took a lot of notes, so if I could get direction on every item to help you build consensus. And just, respectfully, it's not necessarily the staff's fault for where the golf course is right now. It's previous city council had different philosophy and different vision, and we acted on that policy and vision. So to blame staff for not meeting an objective now, well, that objective wasn't the objective 5 years ago or even 7 years ago. So just staff is doing the best that they can. So just wanted to.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that, but I think it's about true management and doing the right things and having the right people. You don't cut off your nose and spot your face. You start with the basics, fix it, the financials and the accountability and the management, the leasing, the $500,000 maintenance plan that we have with that company, things like that. If you can bring things in-house as far as all those things that are involved in operating that sort of business. And I think we have to exhaust all means before you ever think about selling over 140 acres that could be exploited within our city.
Sure, and no offense, but this also puts like an ominous cloud over the facility. I mean, we've been talking about this golf course and what to do for years. So, and it's just changing, the philosophy is changing with each council, and staff is here to move on the objectives that you're wanting to see. So I've wrote those down and would like to get some consensus on what you would like for us to bring back. So one is the RFP. Do you want us to move out on soliciting and putting out the RFP? Because I wrote down a $2 million opening base bid, remain open to the public, and remain a golf course.
Sounds to me like we're at a 2-2 right with who's here.
Okay, I'll move to the next one. Reevaluate IT allocations, fleet allocation, and facilities allocations. Look at past historical, and then look at past IT tickets, maintenance requests, and when fleet has fixed the golf equipment. You would like to see that?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I'm never against, doing additional analysis and all that, but I think right now I would like to see us get out and find out exactly what would be a private company's interest in the golf course, what they would propose to do. If we don't do that, we're just kind of fishing out there. We don't know.
I did have that as my next one, is do you want us to look at management contract options?
I'd say management, I would say keep the management in-house. It's just hiring a capable manager that's gonna run the facility and put it in the black. I wouldn't say a management contract of someone else managing it. We should be able to do that in-house, quite frankly.
Yeah, I would just say that although I've played a lot of golf at the golf course there over the years, and I've been involved with golf courses all my life. I've been in charge of golf associations and private golf courses, been involved, not as the owner, but as part of the overseeing of the golf courses. I just think it's worth, at this point in time, to find out what all the options are, including what would be the proposals from private contractors as far as taking over ownership of the golf course with responsible provisions in that in that deal that would make sure it was still available to our citizens. We do have other public golf courses, not private, they're privately owned, but they're public golf courses that provide similar situation in the city. So it's not like we'd be taking away an amenity. I don't think, in this case, golf is a little bit different than normal amenities.
I think you've exhausted that, Councilman, because we don't have consensus to move forward with the RFP.
Can we do both tracks? And then, I mean, we're not making a final decision by putting it out to
I personally have no appetite for it.
My issue with that, Councilman Gambaro, is that I don't agree with the appraisal. I don't agree with putting the golf course up for sale for $2 million.
So what's a minimum number that you think is appropriate for that golf course?
Well, I'm not in the business of selling golf courses, but I just, based on the history, I don't, and I haven't had a chance to even, talk to the appraiser, obviously, to figure out how it is they came up with this number. I don't see it. And I'm looking at the appraisal. Now, when this appraisal was done it was done with a different approach. It's 15-point-something million. But how they purchased this property in 2016 for $5.5 million, and then how they got a tax write-off for $15 million, and now we're looking at a sub-$2 million appraisal. It's just not making sense to me.
Maybe the right number is 5.5. I mean, I don't know.
Someone's willing to pay $5.5 million, then we can put it out for RFP and see who bites. But I mean, even then, I would like to see us run this, see if we could run this in the black. And you're right, City Manager. Past council did have a different philosophy on this. It was supposed to be strictly an amenity like any other amenity. I don't think it's like any other amenity, and I think that's the difference in the council now. But yeah, I just have an issue with what the appraisal says. I cannot support going out to RFP based on this appraisal.
Okay, I have some more, Mayor.
Go right ahead.
So we're gonna bring back an option for leasing carts in an analysis, yes?
Same for the maintenance.
We did present that previously, Mayor, of how much it would cost. I believe James did it, it might have been the meeting that you missed, of how much it would cost for, to bring maintenance in-house as opposed to the Troon contract. And, yeah, and just as a reminder, when you bring services in-house, when we have things like health insurance rates or any of those things, they're assumed in these budgets.
Yes.
So leasing carts, yes, okay.
And quite frankly, to your point, Vice Mayor, about, you don't want to go up to $65 a round. That golf course is one of the best in the city, in the county. And if we have to increase, we have to increase. But for me, that zero balance line is fine and dandy with me, as long as we're not in the red.
Thank you, Mayor. That was the next one on my list, was to raise fees to break even. Yes?
Yes, that worked for me.
Is that not what they presented here today?
Yes, but this was including some capital costs, but it's at $10 to $11. But Vice Mayor, you're saying $5 to $6.
Well, no, that's an aspiration, okay? I would like us to aspire to only have to charge 5 to 6 by looking at some of these other figures, i.e. leasing versus purchasing, looking at the allocations, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that analysis, we will evaluate fees with capital costs and the allocations. Then reevaluate the interlocal agreement with Flagler Schools.
I think we should.
Okay.
Hold on, but we don't have direction on that. Only 2 council members agreed to that, so I need to hear the rest of the council members.
Are you okay with that, Councilman Sullivan, as far as reevaluating the interlocal agreement with the schools as far as facilities are concerned?
I think it's a matter of Marcus just looking at it.
A general comment on?
But I will tell you, you're opening up a door, then reevaluating our entire ILA with Flagler Schools.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm happy to look at it for you guys.
I would just want to know what it says. I think that's a fair thing, just to let us know
So
what it
we
says.
will send you the interlocal agreement with Flagler Schools and an estimated cost of what we are absorbing in all parks and recreation facilities.
Fair enough.
Loopers, we'll have a discussion with Loopers.
Yeah,
Consensus on that?
yeah, Do you?
I think they're probably going to say,
Say
no, we
no.
want to honor the
Let's say
contract.
talk to us in 2 years or.
But maybe, but the worst they can do is say no. I mean, we have a good relationship with Loopers.
I can look at the lease as well and see
Yes.
what our options are.
Okay, and then the last thing I wrote down was to find out some additional information and research on the $16 million incentive that, or tax break, Ms. Pontieri, that you brought up. Okay, thank you.
What was that last one again?
It's about the tax break that the people
The
got. when they
15.5.
sold.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, are you good, city manager?
Yes. Are you guys good?
We'll find out after public comment.
I don't know how much we'll be able to bring this back on July 8th, just because it's also the general fund budget, and that's a heavy, lengthy presentation with all the general fund departments, IT as well. So we might have to bring it to a business meeting just to get it in front of you quicker, but July 8th is not going to be a timeline that we can make.
When July 1st is a little light, right?
Well, I can't make July 8th. I can't make July 1st.
That's right. Well, you know, we should probably have a full council to round out the discussion.
Yeah.
So are you good to go?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay, we'll open this presentation concerning the golf course to public comment. Yes, sir, Mike.
Morning, Mike Solora. I think the council should work together to try to fix this, okay? I don't see mathematically how if a guy's gonna come in and pay this money to buy this and then be able to make money on it, because he's gonna have to make a profit, okay? And then is not gonna raise the fees. So if he's gonna raise the fees, why can't we raise the fees some too? I don't think it's, maybe if they could maybe, I don't know what the deal is with the restaurant, but when their lease is over or whatever, we could raise that up. Maybe put in a driving range where they could add some revenue from that. And maybe make a VIP thing where somebody pays a little money and they get some special treatment. It's still, it's not private, it's still, you know, the city's. Is there a guarantee that if we sell it, that it isn't gonna turn into condos or something down the road? I don't think I'd be pissed off if they sold the golf course and in 5 years I paid extra money for this house on the golf course and now they got condos, apartments, Section 8 living or whatever. The road isn't going to handle it, okay? It's only a 2-lane road. There's a bridge there. The traffic would be crazy. Then you need more schools and everything else. I'd rather subsidize it a little bit than pay in the long run and have to pay a lot more money for more schools, more police, and everything else that goes along with building all condos and apartments. The city had an opportunity a while ago, the old council, and they kind of messed up. 3 of them voted to let the Palm Harbor developer do what they wanted. If they had put a resort there instead of allowing them for condos or apartments, that would have put more money for the taxes for the city and the county, and also would have put more money towards businesses. They would go to the beach, they would go to the golf course, they would do different things. So maybe, I don't know what's going on with that property now, but when it comes back up again, maybe we could push toward more of a resort there instead of condos or apartments. I really don't think it would be fair if living on that golf course and paying that extra money to have apartments. And, you know, I know what's going to happen. Just like Mike said, the mayor said, that, you know, they're going to build, you know, 5 years, 20 years from now, it's going to be apartments or it's going to be condos, okay? I think we need to fix it. And I think that's kind of the council's job, the city council, to do that. I don't talk well in front of a bunch of people. I'm nervous, but that's my opinion. From what I've seen on Nextdoor, a lot of people don't want to see it turned into something private. They want to keep it in the city.
All right, thank you, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. McDonald.
The city council doesn't understand why, a basic tenet of why you're here, okay? This city started at that golf course. None of us would be in this room right now if ITT didn't come down here and build the golf course. So you guys are thinking, you two specifically are thinking, let's sell it. Seriously, gentlemen, okay? It's the fabric of this community, all of it. Now, are you telling me specifically, you two gentlemen here, are you telling me that golf courses don't make money? All the other golf courses in the world don't make any money. Well, of course that's would be stupid to respond to that. okay? The point is, okay, they do make money. So the question to ask here is, how come our golf course doesn't make money? That's the question we need to ask. This is part of the fabric of this city. It all began on that golf course. There was nothing here until that golf course was here, all right? You guys got to admit the fact that they can't run it. The city staff can't run it. So figure out a way for somebody to run it and run it properly. It's a phenomenal course. The course was redone almost 20 years ago, Dave, okay? And they spent, yes, around $7 or $8 million to redo it when it was given to us for $1, okay? This whole thinking is crazy. Are you going to sell the pickleball courts? How about the splash pad? There's a giant hole in our wallets, the splash pad. Okay, millions of dollars for what? So that people from other counties can come and use our splash pad? At least when they come and use our golf course, we charge them a premium for that. They're not a resident. But you guys allow them to run free up at the splash pad. None of what you're doing makes any sense at all. And when you dial it all back to your responsibility as the city council, okay, someday somebody would go back and look at this and say, gee, the city council almost sold the thing that started this whole city. None of us would be here right now if it wasn't for that golf course. You have to admit, okay, that what has gone on, especially with the allocation on lease, because I've looked at the numbers that have been put into this package, okay, are been played with, okay. One thing you have to remember on the appraisal, there's a difference here. One is with a perpetual easement. That's what they're assuming on this value, on this low value. You must put, if you're going to sell this, you must put a perpetual easement on this property that it always remains a golf course, so we don't end up with another European village. You have a condominium in the complex in Palm Coast right now that is on two sides and split down the middle by another municipal entity. Think about that, Mr. Attorney. It doesn't exist any place, anywhere, okay, in the state of Florida or any other place that I can think of in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, sir.
Long time, Patrick Miller, hard act to follow. How many, may I ask Jason a question direct, is that all right? Just number, okay, well, I'll ask you, number of rounds. How many rounds was in that calculation? The average number of rounds, if you had a calculation in there?
We can,
I think we know
So,
that.
sir, yeah, there's no back and forth. If you say your public comments, then council can address
number
afterwards.
of rounds, we need that. I agree that somebody needs to do a deep dive on this appraisal. It's way off, as far as I'm concerned, too, from what I've heard and seen. I'd like to see the metrics on that. The other is, I think there's nothing wrong at looking at a public-private partnership to bring in a management company to run it. Plenty of places do it. My background is from Palm Beach County. We had a young lady come in there named Donna White. She came in, had her own company. She ended up running several courses. Of course, she's retired now, and turned it into just a favorable place to be. Our rates aren't that bad. Can you raise them a little? Absolutely. And the other thing comes down is just looking at how we're spending the money. It's a checkbook. It's coming in here, it's going out here. Where is it going? How's it getting there? And I agree with the council members who agreed to, talked about that. But I don't see anything wrong with looking at public-private partnership. Selling it, I think you're going to run down a Matanzas highway you don't want to go, or Matanzas golf course you don't want to go down. So that's all I have to say at that time.
thank you, Mr. Miller. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Jeannie.
I have a concern about this property getting trusted in the wrong hands. It kind of sounds like somebody already might be interested in buying it, hence the cheap price tag. Why don't we talk to Loopers possibly about them wanting to manage the property if they're so successful right now? Maybe we can work a deal with them. Do events on the green. Be creative. Have some events out there. Get a gift shop out there. There's ways of utilizing that property and keeping it the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Ms. Henry.
Denise Henry, Palm Coast. When I was a young professional, I loved to go after my long days to the golf course. And what I noticed about Palm Harbor is that after 4 p.m. you have to walk the course. Why can't we have golf carts after 4 p.m., especially in the summer? Because, I mean, all the golf courses that I golfed in Pennsylvania always had golf courses after 4 p.m. So that's my suggestion. That would help you raise rates and, for that.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir?
Eric Weber. Been a resident of Palm Coast for 10 years. Councilman, Mayor, you have all the information that you provide. The information I'm presenting here is your strategy, your strategic plan. Maybe not yours, maybe that you're part of in developing it. Key things in here. Executive summary, where are we going with that? What are we asking people to read when we publish this? We ask for accountability. We ask for what your vision is, what our vision is, what our mission is. Then values. We talk about accountability, leadership, ownership, trust. What have we done for these parks and recreations? We provide them with a way to be successful. Have we done this with the golf course? Have we done it with any part of the golf course? To the city side of the house, to individuals presenting stuff, shooting the messenger. It's not that. It's what we're not doing inside. And maybe it is something that we need some help and how to bring it in a very organizational type formal approach to a golf course. It's not a walk in the park. It's not a water park. It's a golf course. It has moving pieces to it as well. But what have we done? I look at here, it says quarterly progress reports, objectives, achieving SMART objectives. How are we measuring them? What do we see? This councilman shows me, I have the answers right here, we just can't stay in the black. That doesn't buy it with me, I didn't see that. I pay the taxes. I pay taxes for the water park. I pay taxes for, walks. I pay taxes for the golf course. I golf at every golf course. I golf at Fairhaven, Grand Reserve. I golf at the oh God, I'm going blank here. But all the courses we play at, I mean, we pay the price. These prices are all over. I understand that. But see, this is what's published. When we get to the point of Palm Harbor, because of the different entities, if you look further down on your webpage, your government webpage, it talks about, hey, there's group rates. What are they being charged? So not to say we want to take anything away from the kids in the school. Maybe we charge the school something. But at the end of the day, what have we done to set this program up for success? We're here. So use us, like the mayor said. There's a lot of smart guys out here. Maybe not good golfers, but organizationally, we can manage it.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, sir?
James Janoff, Palm Coast. I, like you, do not know how to run a golf course. I think you have to admit that none of you know how to run a golf course. We need a manager, as Mayor Norris said. There's somebody that we have to hire. If we have failed, as you said, Mr. Gambino, for 10 years, it's because you have not hired the right person. The fact of the matter is, in any entity, in any business, in any sports team, if you don't have the right management, you will not be run properly. This course serves 50,000 rounds per year. That's not disputable. Now, your numbers and where it's being applied and all that stuff, I don't have time, unfortunately. I'm only given 3 minutes. But the accounting that's been done, any type of, I guess, oversight has not been done on any of these numbers. Mr. Gambino, shame on you. $1.8 million. please. I don't know what the backside is of this. I don't know how you can be remotely interested in entertaining a sale of a property in a prime location in your city for $1.8 million or $2 million. It's the most ridiculous thing I think I heard, and I didn't come here to even say that. I can't help it. Now, I am a golfer. This is my golf course. I pay my taxes. I don't come here every meeting like maybe some people do. Let me make it clear. I don't ride my bike on your paths. I don't go to the parks. I don't play soccer. I don't even have school children. The fact of the matter is, we pay taxes, and not everything is a profit center. Get it off your blue minds that this has to be a profit center. It does not have to be a profit center. Now, would it be nice for it to break even? Would it be nice for you all to make progress and lessening the burden? But I don't want to hear, well, I don't play golf. The pressure I'm under, my constituents say, we can't be losing money on a golf course. Yes, you can. Because people come to the city to play on that golf course. There is revenue that you are not counting that is related to that golf course. Can I identify every dollar? No, I cannot. But people come to the city. They spend money in the city. You raise taxes in the city because of that golf course. You cannot simply look at the bottom line of any entity to determine its value. You just can't. And you are doing it that way, and you're dead wrong. Enough is enough. Admit what you know. Sir, you don't know about golf. This gentleman before me said very clearly, there are many golf courses that are profitable. Find the person that makes this golf course profitable. That's what you need to do, and that's your job for us. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public participation? Yes, ma'am.
Janine Wysocki, Palm Coast. I agree with what that gentleman just said. We love this golf course. This is a big part of our city. We don't want what happened to Matanzas to happen to this golf course. There has to be a way to save this golf course. I encourage, too loud, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay, I encourage you to take a look at all the money. Take a look what money came in, what money came out. It disturbs me that there's $500,000 debt there, that there's all these repairs that have to be done. Why wasn't there anything put in escrow over all these years? Why wasn't that a plan, like we're gonna have repairs that are gonna be coming up? That should have been there. Anybody who, I'm sure all of you do that in your own home. You have to prepare for things, save for the new roof that you're gonna have to get, save for the new car that you're gonna have to get in a couple of years. When you're running a golf course, of course, and any other business, that has to be done. As a resident, I agree with what the last gentleman just said. I don't take part in so many of the other things here. I've never been to the splash pad, but I'm glad that it's here for the other residents to be able to use. I'm glad that the bike paths are here for the other residents to use. I want to use the golf course. It doesn't have to be in the hole all the time. We can find ways. I think having money raised in a restaurant, maybe the city taking over that, or having a good agreement with the restaurant who does take that over to receive part of the proceeds of that is a great idea. Other golf courses do it. Please don't let us lose our golf course. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Any final comments from council?
Just one small comment, Mayor. The charter, someone brought up a private-public partnership. Actually was thinking that while we were watching this presentation, but our charter doesn't allow us to have public-private partnerships of that nature yet. So just something, I think that as we look into the charter review process, it's just something to keep in mind, because I actually do think a public-private partnership could help solve this issue, but right now our hands are tied, so.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anything else from council members?
Nope.
You got your directions, city manager?
Yes, Mayor, City Council, thank you. And I'll just add, the difference in the food and beverage concessions, then that was a whole thing many years ago, but the floor was pretty low from, previous vendor to current vendor. I think we were absorbing more costs from the previous vendor, and we're making money now from the current vendor. So just, many of the public might not know that, but that's been the difference in concession agreements over the years.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Has there been any conversation with the manager of Loop Coast about providing the mobile vendor on the course? Have they brought that up at any time?
They've not brought that up to us, and actually the previous vendor for food and beverage didn't want that cart anymore, so we sold it many years ago.
Okay.
So we do not have one in inventory.
That could be a business opportunity for someone. Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to the final public participation. So these are the wrap up. Any other items that were not covered on the agenda, or you just have basic issues you want to bring to our attention? Anyone for public comment? Yes, ma'am.
I have a concern about the parks being, and the golf course. Are they one and the same? Are they controlled by the Park and Recs? When it comes to Second Amendment rights and carrying or concealed carry while golfing, I understand that you guys have kind of eliminated that from our Parks and Recs, and I think it's a violation of our Second Amendment rights. So does that apply to golf courses as well?
All right, thank you, ma'am. We'll follow up with you on that one. Yes, sir?
Jeff Adams, Palm Coast.
Yes, sir.
I actually wanted to compliment you on the job you guys did with the impact fees. I thought you pursued that diligently, and I think, the impact to the general building is not going to be that big a deal. It's $4,000 or $5,000. That's $6 a month. If you work it out per diem, it makes no sense. If you can't afford $24, $25 a month, don't buy the house. It's pretty much that simple. So to impact us in getting the impact fees to us with such a minimal amount of expenditure, I think is good. The other thing is, when you put this out, if you give the builders I've spent 40 years in the building business, so, if you put this out to the builders, they're going to need a 45 to 60-day lead time. That may be the way they unload some of this excessive inventory that they have, because they're going to want to move their prices out, and that won't be, even though there are people here who advocate, having a moratorium, which just isn't going to happen, unless this gentleman happens to be a descendant of Effie Lee Bailey. I don't see that you're going to be able to beat Horton, Pulte. Those boys will come up here on their plane from Texas and take you to school. I've been an expert witness for both Pulte and Horton, and they're not going to play. The other meeting I was at, where you had the house colors and chickens in the backyard and signage, I don't know, did anything ever happen with the signage on the trucks? You were going to look into it?
It's coming up, sir.
It's coming up? Okay. But the only thing I would add to that is, when you were very good, Vice Mayor, about offering that you're going to look into it for people. Unfortunately, as I walked out, I heard them in the parking lot. They didn't hear, I'm going to look into it. They heard yes. So as I used to tell the people that work for me, if you don't say no, you said yes. And they walked out here, and I know as sure as God made little green apples, all of them heard yes. And that would be the only constructive criticism I would give, is give them a no. And if you want to do your research in the background, God bless, may the force be with you. But don't encourage them, because they truly believe they can now park their vehicles. So thank you for your time, and a good job on that.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Any closing comments on public comments from the dais?
I'd have a few things, Mayor, if you don't mind. So The Children's Business Fair is this Saturday at the Palm Coast Community Center. It starts at 11 a.m. It is such a cool event. I'm very honored to have been a part of it for the last few years. I think this is year 3. It's 30 vendors now we have this year, children in our community who have their own businesses, their own business cards, their own products, and they set up tables just like any other vendors, and they sell and they promote themselves, and it's just a really cool event for our community. It's still, like I said, in its infancy. It's only the 3rd year, but it's just a really cool event. So please go check that out and give the little junior entrepreneurs in our community some love and support. I also want to do a shout out to our May Employee of the Month, Jesse Guyman. Something really, really cool. He's in our fleet department. Something really cool that I read about him. He recently earned his EVT Fire Master Technician certification. Only 59 people in the entire state of Florida have this certification. So something really cool that our community can tout, I think, in our employees. We just really have our fleet department is fantastic. But congratulations to him. Thank you for all of his work and for wanting to really improve himself for the benefit of our community and our organization. So we had talked about the transportation impact fee impact of the infill lot change. So if you all recall, there was about $2,000. We had increased it from the previous discounted rate to the regular rate. I asked staff to put together what impact that would have on the overall numbers, and just as of this morning, have learned that it would be about $1 million a year. So it's not an incredible impact. I think that's even less than I thought it was going to be. I know that we had asked for figures anticipating $30 million in funding over this period of time from the federal government for roads. Also, and that kind of changed the numbers. But then we were talking about, well, what will this increase do? Will it have a significant impact on the analysis? For me, it doesn't. I only bring this up now because we've already done one reading. So if we need to do 2 more readings, then we kind of need to give that direction to staff. I don't want to prolong the impact fee going into effect, but we need to make sure this is legally defensible at the same time.
Yeah, it's $25 million.
Over the period, well, you're going to have another impact fee study though in 4 years. That's kind of my.
It's okay. But are there 7,500 infill lots left?
I think it's 77.
7,500s?
Around 7,000.
7,000.
So 7,000 times $3,300 is more than $25 million.
Well, the difference was $2,000. The nexus was $2,000.
It's actually, if you look at it, it's more.
I saw the and I think maybe that it should just be circulated to council.
For all all 3 it would affect.
No.
All 3 impact fees.
No. Only the transportation impact fee was.
No. They would hold their impact fee at where it is now, period. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's 25 million or it's 44 million.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Sorry.
Well, if you look at,
We agreed to not allow those rates to stay as they were, as established.
But only for the transportation.
Yes.
Can I read Fong's email?
Sure.
Okay. So Fong did an analysis of single-family detached dwelling units from 2020 to 2024. The average was 1,500. The average, the transportation impact fee based on 30 million for SFR detached is $3,770, and vested SFR platted lot is $2,885. Since City Council did not want to provide a discount, the vested single-family platted lot is the same as the detached, which is $3,770. The difference or potential collection based off the 5-year average is $885 times 1,500 of those units, which is $1.3 million. About 70% represents the ITT platted lot, so the number is $1,031,767.50. So approximately, we can anticipate $1 million from ITT platted lots without the discount. And that is that's per 1,000 square feet, not unit.
So my point is, are we still comfortable moving forward in the way that we've directed staff in the first read?
I have no problem with it.
No, I have no problem. We got to get it done.
The impact is the impact.
It's just how much that's actually going to be over the 25 years. It's be interesting.
City Manager, you said that's without impact. That's the revenue that would come in off of that without the impact.
Yes, that's removing the discount.
Removing the discount.
Right.
Get $1 million.
Yes.
And that's an additional 1.1 or whatever.
And that's my point. So we're infusing that number, that $1 million. So it's $4 million total over the next 4 years until the next transportation. I'm fine with it, but I just, wanted to bring that up because we had asked about it.
It's just how much impact does that have overall?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So
it's additional dwellings, additional impacts on the roads and maintenance and
right.
Upgrades. So.
I think to your point, Dave, I think it's, the overall impact, and are we okay with it?
Right. In other words, would that want to make us lower the impact fees now? And I'm saying no.
No, I'm with you, yeah.
But that would be the question. That's really the question. We talked a lot about how important that 25 million or 30 million is in grants. Well, this is pretty close to that by itself.
Right, yeah, no, I agree. Okay. And then the last thing, so obviously it's been made public that Mr. DeLorenzo is resigning from the city of Palm Coast. I just want to tell you thank you. I've greatly appreciated your work and enjoyed working with you. I know I have pushed you, made you work really hard, and I just wish you the very best of luck, and the best of luck to your family, your beautiful daughter and wife, and just want to say very, very heartfelt thank you, and God bless you guys.
City Manager? Vice Mayor? Councilman Gambaro, you got anything to
Yes,
close out
I
this
just
session?
echo the Vice Mayor's comments. A lot of people may not remember this, but Jason followed me into the Soil Water Conservation Board that I got elected to when I got appointed to the school board. So many years of service to the community. Just want to say thanks. And thanks for always picking up the phone when there's, a tough issue to tackle. Really appreciate your service, and wish you and your family all the best in your next move. I wanted to say thank you also to all of the applicants to apply to serve on our charter committee. I think we've got a decent pool of candidates, and look forward to finalizing those appointments so they can get to work and give us recommendations on important amendments that they feel, and through our town halls, the feedback we get on making changes to our charter. And then lastly, I'll be attending the Flagler County City Palm Coast Joint Affordable Housing Advisory Committee at 3 p.m. this afternoon. I'll report back next week.
Thank you, sir. Councilman
Yeah,
Sullivan?
just to Jason and the family, thank you for all your service over the years here in Flagler County, various positions, and especially with your service recently on the Palm Coast. So thank you very much, and good luck in your new position.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to item H, legal counsel, you got anything?
Nothing for city council, sir.
All right, thank you. City manager?
Yes, just a couple updates, Mayor. We have moved the boat parade and the Starlight Parade. We've actually switched their dates. The boat parade is now going to be on December 13th, and the Starlight Parade is going to be on December 6th. So we'll be sending out a press release letting folks know about some early preparation, but this was to accommodate some of those larger vessels in our saltwater canals to participate in the boat parade. So good news there. And then thank thank you, Ms. Henry, for the kind comment about Palm Coast looking good. Our Public Works team is working very hard. It's peak growing season, so you may see them after hours and on weekends, just trying to keep up with the growing conditions. I actually saw the supervisor here last Tuesday on a mower, so it's all hands on deck right now. And then you guys stole my thunder a little bit, but Jason, I just want to thank you for your service and dedication. And it's been a pleasure working alongside of you the last 6 years. And then your time on city council, you've dedicated a lot of your time to this city, and I really thank you. So that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And there's no conflict with the Flagler Christmas parade.
I actually discussed that with the city manager, and so their Christmas parade is at 1 p.m., and ours will be in the evening. So it might work out for the best that people don't have to set up and tear down their floats. They could go from one parade to the next.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I have nothing else. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.